Okay, the next pattern we're going to talk about is the Vegas trade. Now, the Vegas trade is one of our trend-changing patterns that happens quite frequently and has a great psychology of the market. So let's take a look at the Vegas trade. The Vegas pattern develops after a hook from extreme. That is the first criteria that we got to have. We must have a hook from extreme. In other words, we had a move down or a good move up, and we go to extremes. So that's the first criteria. And then we go and have profit taking and people getting out of their longs or their shorts, and we form a swing low or a swing high. And then we get into what we call the Johnny-come-latelys, who jump in after maybe not making the initial down move, jump in and try to push it down and can't quite seem to get it to go. And that forms this, what we call the battle of the bulls and the bears, from that swing high or swing low. Now, on this battle of the bulls and bears, we're looking for a round to a sideways action. And what we're also looking for is a minimum of 3 bars with the 4th bar breaking, or a max of 10 bars. That gives us the best high probability of the Vegas pattern. And the psychology, as I said, it shows that we had a down move, and then the Johnny-come-latelys try to get in and push it down, and they can't. We take out the swing high, and when we take out the swing high or the swing low, that's a trigger to go long or short. And what we're doing there is, when the pros see that they can't push it down or they can't push it up anymore, they either start buying into it or start selling into it. And taking out that swing high, we join the pros, and that is the whole psychology behind the Vegas pattern. Okay, now we got some trade examples and setups. Now here's a long setup. You'll notice down here we have a hook from extremes, which is our first criteria. We must have that hook from extreme. We go up, we form a swing high, and then the Johnny-come-latelys that missed the initial down move try to push it down. They can't quite do it. They push it down, maybe even taking out the prior lows, but they really can't make much headway. And what happens is the selling starts to wane, and the pros see this and start buying into it. The CCIers, when we take out that swing high there, take that out, the CCIers join, and that's where we would trigger into the trade, right, as you can see here. Now also, on this Vegas pattern, we must have another nuance, and we must have one of the green dots for a long or green bar on the LSMA, which is plotted on the 0 line. We must have that be in the same direction. In other words, green, we're looking for longs when we break the swing high. So there's where we join into the trade, right on that bar. And again, if we was to draw a trend line, you would see that we would get in ahead, about 1 bar ahead of the world on the Vegas pattern. So that's the Vegas pattern and a little bit about it. And we must have, again, 3 bars of rounding minimum and a max of 10 bars from the swing high. And you start to count from the swing high or the swing low. Now here's what it looks like on a chart. We had a hook from extreme. We went up and made a swing high. We had another attempt to make another swing high, but we never took out the original one. They tried to push it down some more. They couldn't quite do it. Taking out that swing high with the green LSMA on the 0 line, that was our trigger bar right here. And therefore we get this uptrend. And it's a trend-changing pattern. A trend-changing pattern. And this happened to be on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange stock. So it doesn't make a difference, again, whether it's a stock, option, index, currency. It works on everything. Now let's look at a Vegas trade short. basically the same thing. You have to have a hook from extreme. You go down and form a swing low. The Johnny-come-latelys try to push it back up again. Yeah, they can get it to go a little higher, but they can't quite get it to go anymore. The pros see this, the CCIers see this. Taking out that swing low with a minimum of 3 bars is the trigger bar to go short. Okay, so taking out the swing low, and what we have to have again is the 3 bars of rounding, or the battle of the bulls and bears minimum, which we have, the 4th bar breaking, and we must have a red LSMA bar here. And that's all we need, and you can see where we get into that trade. And if we were to again draw a trend line, we'd be in 1 bar ahead of the rest of the world. And so what happens, usually what happens, it breaks it at a good angle, because it shows that the people who tried to get into that up move now have to get out of their contracts or out of their shares of stock or whatever. So it's a wonderful psychology, reading the herd mentality being what the traders in the world are thinking. Okay, let's look at one here. We had a hook from extreme. We come down, formed the swing low. We went back up again. We had at least 3 bars, in this case 4 bar, with the 5th bar breaking. That swing low. Red on the LSMA, and that was our trigger to go short. So we went short somewhere up there, and you can see it followed that trend change from going up to going down now. So a trend changing pattern. Okay, next I'm going to show you some examples of the CCI Vegas pattern. This is a Vegas long on gold, the 5-minute chart. You notice we had a downtrend, nice downtrend, and all of a sudden the Vegas pattern comes up to show us a trend change. We had a hook from extreme. We went up here, formed a swing high, and then we come down with the Johnny-come-latelies trying to push it down, and they can't quite push it down. We get at least 3 bars sideways rounding action, with the 4th bar giving us a long signal. So let's watch this trade develop. Again, breaking the swing low at a good angle, breaking the 0 line at a good angle, and this is what we would expect of the trade. Continue going until we cross the 100. So again, this is the bar we got in, and you can see all the way up. Now, some people would say, well, where would you place a stop? Well, what I tell people is to do stats on whatever vehicle they're trading. I like to use 1 or 2 ticks below the high or low of the entry bar. In this case, 1 tick below, and a minimum of 10 points, 10 ticks, because I'm trading a momentum indicator, and I wouldn't expect to be taking out prior bar lows. I would expect this thing to be momentuming up to the moon. And so that's always, to me, a good stop placement, 1 or 2 ticks below the high or low of the entry bar, in this case of a long, 1 or 2 ticks below. So you can see that's a nice trade, trend changing pattern. We were looking for shorts, and now we went up to where we would be looking for longs, because we got more than 6 bars above the 0 line. Let's go back and take a look at this trade again. Now, what is a clue that possibly this trade could go as it goes? Well, one, you saw we started to get some yellow color on the sidewinder. That gave us a clue that the trend to the downside was weakening. Number 2, we had another clue here where we actually had a 0 line reject, whether it's one that we would take or not, but this 0 line reject failed. And so there were 2 nice clues, and the 3rd clue was all the green dots. So there was 3 clues there that gave you a good heads up by watching the CCI, telling you a story that this trend changing pattern looked like it was ready to go. Is it 100%? No, but it's a good thing to have, to be able to give you that type of a warning. So there was a story on the pattern itself, and there was a story of the CCI, the Sidewinder, and the least square moving average, and the CCI telling you that there's a possibility that a trend-changing pattern was going to go. Okay, let's take a look at this. This is on gold. 662.60 was our short. Was our long. 662.60. We went long on bar close. We're up here at 663.10, 363.50, 60, 70, and a nice trade. So that worked out to be a nice long trade on gold, and we made some nice money on that. Okay, let's look at another trade. This is another Vegas trade long. Again, we had a nice down move. We had a hook from extreme. We had some profit taken. We formed a swing high. Didn't have the 3 bars, but then we formed another swing high. And then we had that battle of the bulls and the bears with 3 bars, with the 4th bar breaking through at a good angle. There we are getting into the trade. Watch the angles here. Boom, look at that. Right through from the 0, right through the 100, right through the 200. Trading momentum indicator, that's what we should expect to happen. Nice exit, coming back through the 100. Let's take a look at that again. Again, what was the clues that this might work? We had 2 zero-line rejects there that really didn't go anywhere, telling you that a trend-changing pattern might be in order. Exactly what we got on the Vegas pattern. And sure enough, measuring what the people were thinking, there was more buying coming in. The pros saw that, and the CCI has joined it, taking out that swing high was the trigger. With the green LSMA, and that's what we need. So that was a nice trade there. Again, let's take a look at that. This is on the Russell. We got long at 837.30. We're already up to 839, 840. And up in the 840s, 840.80. 839.20 was a get out. So we got in at 37 and it got up to 39 and change and 40 and change, so 20 or 30 tick depending on where you got out. So again, nice trade. Okay, let's look at the German DAX on a 5-minute chart. The same scenario. We had a nice up move, as you can see. We had a hook from extreme, which we need. We come down and form the swing low. We had 3 bars surrounding minimum, which we require, with the 4th bar breaking. Again, look at it breaking that horizontal swing low line at a good angle. Here's where we got in the trade. Let's take a look at this live. Again, look at the angles. Trading momentum indicator. Look at the angles of this thing moving. Exactly what you want as a trader. Crossing back through the 100. Now, as I also said, and I'll go back to the beginning here, our entry bar, we put a stop 1 or 2 ticks above the high of the entry bar, and it never gets near the stop. And again, it just picks everything out, picks the momentum, the selling coming into market with a trend-changing pattern. Most people are used to hearing trend-changing patterns only with momentum indicators because they're always used to hearing either with the trend or a counter trend. Trading a momentum indicator, you now have a trend-changing pattern. Again, completely revolutionary. Let's take one more look at this and let me point out something here. If you'll notice the red on the Sidewinder, notice all the red on the Sidewinder, a clue that this uptrend was starting to flatten out. The second clue was there were zero-line rejects, maybe not ones that we would take, but you can see they didn't really go up anymore. There was no more interest in buying, giving us a good clue, a good story that this trend-changing pattern would go with all these red LSMA dots. And sure enough, all it did was continue down at a great angle. We got a great entry into the trade, and we had a nice trade. Again, a nice exit, either a hook from extreme or crossing the 100. Let's go take another look at another one. This is to the long side. And again, there are some clues here. One, we got red. Even though we had a good downtrend, the strength of the trend was weakening because of the red on the sidewinder. We also had a whole row of green dots, meaning prices were above the 25 least square moving average, which is the best fit moving average. That was another clue. Another clue was we had a zero line reject, but it never really went anywhere. And the 100 line held up as support. And so after our 3 bars of rounding, after our hook from extreme, we formed that swing high. The battle of the bulls and bears. The pros seen this happen, taking out the swing high. The CCIs around the world join in. Good angle breaking that through. And everything there, a complete story on why this trade should work. Is it 100%? No. But it gives you a good probability that this trade would go. Again, we break the zero line on a good angle, and look at the angle of the CCI. Almost straight up. Coming back down through would be an exit. So as you look at a pattern like this, a trend changing pattern, a lot of times there's a story to be told. And if you take a look at this story, you'll find that this works out really well. Let's take a look at one more. Another good downtrend. We had a hook from extreme. We had a nice swing high. We had a zero line reject that couldn't even go below the minus 100. A clue, a lot of green dots. And we start to see yellow showing up on the sidewinder. Again, clues that this is going to work, or at least give a good attempt to work. So let's take a look at that. Again, look at the angle. Look at the angle. Shoot right up. Beautiful. Right now you're sitting back there fat, dumb, and happy that this is working so nice and you're making a lot of money. And all you did was trade a trend-changing pattern. You didn't have to look at no stinking price bars. You didn't have to look at anything. You just look at the story. The CCI told you a story. And that's all you had to do. Let's go back and play that again one more time. 76.28 was our long. 76.28. 28, now up to 40. Now up to 43. Now up to 52. 56. 57. 63. 63 high in the trade. We got in the trade at 76.28 and a high of 63. That's roughly 35 points at $35 a point. Not too shabby. Wonderful trade. And again, just a simple trend-changing pattern. And as you can see, the story was there. The yellow on the chop zone, on the sidewinder, started to tell you a lot of green dots. Zero line reject that really didn't take off. No reason to get out of that trade until it crosses back through the plus 100. And again here, people, the turbo hooked inside the 14. If you were trading multiple contracts, that might have been a nice place for some of you people to take some off. Or some people will wait for a hook from extreme. So whatever your stats will tell you that you do, you have some nice exits. And I'll go through some of the exits that I developed for this system later on in another slide. So again, that's the Vegas trade. Has a wonderful story, great psychology to the pattern, and if you understand that, that will help you with your trend-changing pattern.